redneck, Jew. I think I can stop, so why don't you guys go and answer that question?
Well, kind of disappointed that people would resort to name-calling, you know.
Ignorance around society today. No, not enough education in society.
Okay. I can't really help being mad when I hear something like that, but you also got to feel sorry for the people that would have to call someone that, almost make themselves feel better. And then also for the people that are victimized by the name calling, because it's not anything you really ever forget. It's always with you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will introduce our panel and our experts who will be addressing tonight's topic, racism. So viewers at home, as well as our studio audience, join us as we try and tackle one of America's top social issues, racism. In light of the situation in LA, we hope that this show is interesting and informative. Stay tuned.
Hi, we're High Pursuit. Over 2,700 arrests were made last year for sales, furnishing, or consuming alcoholic beverages by teenagers.
Many of these arrests were made because people like you observed violations occurring and cared enough to call.
Help stop liquor sales to our young people.
Call the Ohio Department of Liquor Control's toll-free hotline at 1-800-282-3477.
Summertime blues. You better watch it now.
The population I feel that will have the best chance of decreasing racist attitudes will be children, because when children are younger, they really don't care, you know, about racism. Basically, they don't have anything on their mind except, you know, playing and have fun and who they're going to play with the next day. It's only as they grow older, then the change begins.
When we're children, we don't know the difference between black or white. Everybody is just a human being. But you can condition yourself to not learn to be racist.
Welcome back to Cincinnati 45202, Talking Back. Tonight, we're discussing a very important subject, racism. But as you can see, you're going to be hearing mostly from teens. Now, you may not agree with everything that you hear, but just listen. You'll get your chance to respond. And who knows, maybe we'll all learn something. So right now, let's meet our panel. Starting at the bottom there, coming to us from Purcell Marion High School, we have Ted Stock. How you doing, Ted?
I'm all right.
Next to Ted, we have Ken Reidner from Taft High School. And next to Ken, we have Kimber Mygett from Mason High School. From the School of the Creative and Performing Arts, we have Kisa Ely. And from Turpin High School, Giselle Millord. And over to my left here is Amy Haig from McNicholas. Our resource experts tonight are Carrie Welch, Program Coordinator of the University of Cincinnati Racial Awareness Program, and Arzell Nelson from the Cincinnati Human Relations Commission. Talking Back is sponsored in part by the Ohio Department of Highway Safety, the Hamilton County Community Partnership, Team CASA, and Warner Cable Communications. If you have a question or comment, give us a call here in the studio at 489-5958. Okay, let's get things started with a short video. In this, you're going to see a doctor who has a very unique prescription for a young man's illness.
Mr. Smith?
Yes?
Would you follow me, please?
All right.
What seems to be your problem today?
Well, I've been having these pounding headaches.
Well, let's see what the doctor can do for you. Have a seat. And let me get your temperature. Open up, please. And the doctor will be right with you.
afternoon, Mr. Smith. I hear you've been having headaches.
Yeah, it's getting a whole lot worse.
Well, let's see what we can do about them. Open up, please. Mm-hmm. And let's have a look in this ear. That's it. Ah, I think I know what your problem is. It's a disease I've been seeing a lot of lately. It stems from lack of education and ignorance. It's called racism.
What?
Yes, and to clear the racism out of your system, I think we'll prescribe some pills. But to ward off future infection, let's prescribe some Narsap, the new anti-racist superactive prophylactic. Next.
Headache, huh?
This way, please.
Okay, so there you have it. All we need to do is get a couple million of these things for every person in America. We'll have racism licked, right?
I don't know.
No? Okay. Well, it's good. What we're trying to do is use humor to teach, that we can laugh about it to a point, but then we have to start getting serious. So what is racism?
Racism, in my mind, is where that someone thinks that your race is superior over other races. That's what my definition is.
Ken?
It's basically just people thinking that they're above certain other kinds of people for whatever reason, color, race, whatever. I mean, it's plain out stupid, but it's just the way it's always been.
Amy?
What basically I think racism is people think they're different just because the color of their skin, and that shouldn't make a difference because inside we all have the same, I mean, everything else is the same except the color of their skin, and that shouldn't make a difference.
Well, can you guys think of some recent events which were obviously racist? I mean, besides, okay, we all know the Rodney King trial. Any other things that you see, racist events in America today?
Anywhere?
Anywhere.
Well, I don't know. There's lots of racist events, you know, every day that we don't usually think about. Whenever, you know, I don't know, if you ever seen like a group of people walking down the street and, you know, someone who's different walks by, or you know, everybody gets a big laugh and everything, and stuff like that. You know, you're just kidding around with your friends, but it can I think it can lead to things more serious, you know, because even if you're just joking around, it's been said, you know.
Right. All right, how have any of you felt the effects of racism personally in your lives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think everyone has experienced racism. You know, it happens not only as a black and white issue or a Mexican or Spanish, it happens in the black community also because, you know, in the black community, you know, there's like different colors, you know, and then there's like the light versus the dark skin, you know, and then it's just like, now I tend like, half and half, you know, and sometimes we get along, but then they look at me, well, oh, she's black, I don't appreciate her, and that, you know, it happens in school, but it starts at the home. That's what I know. It starts at the home because...
Okay, well, it happens in school. Let's talk about your schools. Now, you're going to SCPA, which is pretty well integrated, right?
Right.
And are the relations pretty good there for the most part? Or were you saying just for yourself? Now, again, we don't want to, if we talk about any one school, we're not pointing out any school saying that any institution is particularly racist. But like we said, it happens every day, everywhere. So there is to some degree.
Right. Well, I mean, incidents happen. I know that I remember back in about 7th grade, you know, this girl, she just went off on me and just called me names inside. And I just said to myself, well maybe she's not educated enough to understand, you know, what my ancestors went through in those days. And, you know, they have to be educated, you know, so sometimes you have to walk away or, you know, just say whatever you want to say.
All right. Kimber, you go to Mason.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know for sure, but I would tend to guess that the black population or the minority population at Mason is pretty small.
Extremely small. Well, not just pretty, extremely.
So how is it for you? Then, if you're not dealing with it day to day, then you could say, well, it's not a problem for me.
I do deal with it day to day because the people at my school are constantly, making, oh, well, look at that guy, and they say things, and even though we don't have black people attending our school, they're constantly bringing up them and saying things about them. We have teachers at my school who are extremely bad. I mean, I had to leave class for a week one day, because the one teacher was so bad,
Against the student.
Against black people altogether, and she was holding a conversation in class about it. I couldn't. So, I mean, even though they're not, we don't have that majority there, it's still a problem.
Okay. Well, you've had an opportunity to hear what some of our panel members have to say about racism, what they think about it, and how it affects them. Let's go to Mike Winfrey in the audience. He's got a question for us.
Okay, Gary, here we have Camille. Camille, what's your question for us today?
I was wondering what makes people act in a violent way towards racism.
Okay, panelists?
When things start getting really bad, like if there's a real shortage of employment, or if there's only so many if there's only so many job spots open, and someone gets this, if a white guy gets it over a black guy, a lot of people say, oh, well, institution's racist. Or if a black guy gets it over a white guy, they're like, oh, they're just filling a quota, And so, go ahead.
Well, no, we talked about the glass ceiling. You guys
Yeah.
know about that?
Giselle? With my mom, she's in a good position and everything, and she's been in a position, because we're Hispanic and everything, and she's been in a position where people have actually told her, I mean, most of the people she works with are really, really nice and everything, but she's been in a position where she's been really upset and everything because someone actually told her that they resented her coming to this country and taking a job that could have been someone else's. And she was really upset by that, and I've had people tell me things too because I'm Hispanic, and I mean, I don't understand. I mean, it's stuff I'll never forget because, I mean, you can't help it because it really hurts your feelings. I mean, you might hide it temporarily or something and try to shrug it off so that they don't know or anything like that, but it's not anything that's ever really forgotten. You might forgive them, but you can't forget it. And there's a big difference there because you can forgive them because sometimes people don't mean to hurt you, but you don't forget it.
Right. Okay. Well, let's hear what our resource experts have to say. First, let's hear from Kerry. He's the program coordinator at the University of Cincinnati Racial Awareness Program. Kerry, could you tell us, just wrap up some key points that you heard the panel say here?
Well, one of the things that struck me is when this young African-American woman had mentioned her definition of race, and I would agree with you that part of the definition includes a sense of race superiority, but I would also include in the definition the power to oppress other people, and in the United States, that's European folks.
Okay, we're going to go to a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to look at some videos, we're going to hear from our panelists, and we're going to hear from you at home. Thank you.
Statistics show that 46% of all kids who smoke marijuana are inner city youth. Guess who the other 54% are?
For a free parent's guide, call 1-800-477-8428.
Cliché, an overused expression. Example.
Tonight, I'm really gonna get plastered.
I can't wait to really get ripped.
I'm gonna get smashed.
First thing I do after I graduate is get trashed.
Avoid the cliche. Don't drink and drive.
All right, we're back. If you're just joining us, our topic tonight is racism. We would like to hear from you, so give us a call, 489-5958. We want to hear what you have to say. Okay, Keisha, tell me, what's the difference between you and Amy?
Well, let's see. It'll be our skin color, maybe our hair texture. That's the only difference that I see.
Skin and hair. Do you think kids notice these differences?
No, not really. I don't think so. I know sometimes maybe they'll pay attention to their skin color, but as far as, you know, their hair or the way they're dressed, no, it's just maybe skin color. That's my opinion.
Okay. Well, Mike Winfrey had an opportunity to talk to some kids and ask them what they thought the differences between them were. Let's hear what they have to say in this short video.
Deontay, how you doing?
Right.
Fine. How is Leah different from you? Her hair?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And Justin, how is Deontay and Leah different from you?
Nothing. Let's keep it that way.
Okay, well there you go. When asked about skin color, the kids didn't mention anything about it. So what changes as we get older?
Awareness. You're more aware because of the way our society and culture is based. Like, it's a really competitive society because of the fact that there's so many people and everything's based on like money, and there's so much emphasis placed on it that you feel you have to put yourself above other people to get anywhere, and there's so much pressure to achieve so many things. Sometimes some people, I think, are just under so much pressure they're forced to almost get just extremes and put other people down and depress them, and in order to make it easier for themselves to accomplish higher things and their goals and whatever those things may be.
So you think that gradually we begin to learn how?
Because we're always classified in schools, you know. When they ever take a roster of things, they say, well, all the black people, all the black students stand up, you know, all the white students stand up, all the Mexicans stand up, and then you have to be classified, you know, it goes on, we're classified, and so therefore that comes along, and then it's just like, oh, okay, well, I'm classified, so therefore I have to say, I'm black, you know, just, it's kind of like pushes you away. It's like, I have to focus that I'm black, you know.
Right.
I think, well, when you're a little kid and you're going to school for the first time, you know, it's the first time you're out of your house, you're away from your parents. I think that one of the things that you tend to do is you try to find people that are going to be your friends, you know, people that you're comfortable around. And people that look like you are easier to feel comfortable around when you're younger, and I mean, your personality's not really all that developed when you're in, you know, second grade or something. I mean, so you're going to go with, you know, what you see. I mean, you know?
So you'll go with people who look like you, who think like you, who act like you.
Or live close to you or anything like that.
What about, okay, that's friends. What about parents?
They influence it a lot, I think. I think that that's another big part of it, is that you don't start noticing things until maybe your parents say something like, well, are you aware of it, or what will other parents think, or things like that maybe that you don't really notice until your parents' awareness of the whole situation, because they've been around longer, obviously. They know how things are, and I definitely think it's getting better, that everyone's like getting along with everyone else better, because it's been brought out into the open that everyone is basically equal in a sense, like skin color does not make a difference in the actual person. There's good and bad in everyone, and the exterior doesn't really matter, but your parents teach you a lot about that when you're smaller.
Okay, Mike Winfrey's got another question in the audience. Mike?
Okay, I'm standing here with Juana Moreno. Juana, what's your question?
I have a question for the experts. How do we instill in our young people a feeling of pride of who they are and where they've come from?
Thanks, Juana.
Either one like to answer? We're just waiting on a mic here. Mike with the mic.
And let's go with Brazil.
Well, you know, I think education has to be the key point. And I think we have to be responsible as parents, as professionals. All segments of our society has to be responsible for educating our children. Young lady said earlier she was repulsed by a teacher within a classroom putting down a race of people. So I think it has to begin at home. You know, sometimes parents, whether you're a white family, a black family, we should experiment in terms of cross-cultural activities, providing experiences for our children that teach them cultural awareness and multicultural involvement with other people that are different from us. And I think that's where it begins.
Okay, Kerry, you have anything for us?
Well, I very much agree. I would also add that, I mean, we have a system that is teaching us about racism. The schools are teaching racism, a very Eurocentric history. Network television is teaching us racism. Advertisement is teaching us racism. It's very difficult to imagine that folks would come up through that society and not be affected by it. It's just like those folks were saying that young people seem to have less racism or racist tendencies. Well, they haven't had a chance to be taught yet.
Okay, thanks, Kerry and Arzel. Thanks a lot.
Okay, we learn a lot from TV, as Kerry had just said. I was listening to Chuck D from Public Enemy speak last winter, and he said he brought up an interesting point. He said, as a black man, he remembers growing up thinking all the black guys in California were dressing like Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch, the whole pimp outfit, because that's what he saw on TV. That's all he knew. What have you guys learned from TV? Amy?
Well, basically, I haven't really have that much experience, but just watching the sports on TV, I mean, everybody, I mean, they're always competing, and I mean, you don't really hear it as much on TV, but just when, like, your family's watching it or something, I mean, you always hear people say that, you know, blacks are faster than whites in the, you know what I'm saying?
Right, so stereotypical attitudes.
Right.
That's something we're going to get into a little later. But right now, we want to go to another video. Increasingly, men and women of this country are marrying, dating, and having children with people from different racial backgrounds. Now, quite often, these people get hassled from their friends and family, not to mention other people in the world. We've got a short video right now which deals with an interracial relationship. Let's see it.
Baby, I know we've been going on for a long time. We've been together for a long time. And I feel it's time for me to ask you, will you marry me?
James! But I'm white, and you're black. What will people think? Will we be able to handle this?
Baby, I don't care what people think. Love is blind.
Okay, love is blind. When does love stop becoming blind? How do you guys feel about interracial relationships?
Well, being a product of one, I think they're okay.
Right.
Well, but as for love, you know, when it stops becoming blind, I think that it does have a lot more to do with outside influence. You know, because I know, well, I'm involved in it. Well, I guess any relationship I'm in is interracial, but I'm involved in an interracial relationship right now, and you know, I never really thought about any of the problems until, you know, maybe, you know, a couple months ago, I guess. And it was other people saying, wow, you know, wow, it's really, wow, I didn't know it was that weird. You know, because when my parents, you know, I didn't notice any difference in my family until maybe about the 3rd grade. And I don't know if that has so much to do with, you know, people telling me it's taboo or anything, but I think it might have had more to do with I hadn't had much experience with other people's families, you know, so I didn't know, you know, because you need something to compare it with.
Right. What about now that you have gotten older, how do you feel about some of the situations where you are forced to choose, being half black, half white, where you have to check and make a decision to be black or white? Have you run into that?
Well, my parents alternated the race of the children. I'm black, my sister's white, and my little brother's black. So that was all handled beforehand. But,
do they talk about it? Did they talk about it much growing up? Yeah, the problems that they've had.
No, I never noticed the relationship was anything but strong when I was younger. So, you know, I don't think, I always consider myself pretty much colorblind until about high school. And in high school was when, you know, the factions were really strong, especially at my high school, you know, where, I guess it has a lot to do with just high school in general, because when you get there, you don't know anybody. Exactly. Or, well, sometimes you don't know anybody, and it goes back to that 3rd grade thing, or the 1st grade thing, when you're in a group, an unfamiliar group, you tend to cling with people that look like you.
That you know. All right. Mike Winfrey's got another question from our studio audience. Mike.
Okay, this question is for Ted, but I imagine the rest of the panelists can probably answer this. It has been said that if you're in an interracial relationship, you're considered selling out to your race. Do you guys think that's so? Is that true?
No.
Anybody?
I'd have to say it's like my grandmother's always told me in the past. I mean, you can't help who you fall in love with. And, I mean, if you're black or white and you're going to fall in love with somebody else who's different from you, it doesn't really matter. It depends on what you feel. I mean, it doesn't matter on what anyone else thinks about it.
All right, aside from skin color, what do you think are some big differences between cultures?
Well, there are huge differences.
The way we have dinner, eat, you know, I mean, you know, she may have something different. I may have some.
Or some guy who talked a lot, you know, I had a big mouth and I was walking down the street. I probably wouldn't do anything by myself, but if I was drunk, maybe I would. Yeah. So, you know.
There you go. There you go. Well, are we, affirmative action, let's talk about that, in those kind of programs. Do we degrade a race or a people by giving them, you know, a handout, or we're treating, not a handout, but we're treating them differently? Is that degrading to any effect?
Yeah. Yes.
So, okay. Simply yes.
Well, not just simple. I mean, whenever I've gotten several minority scholarship, you know, things recently, and sometimes I think, is it really fair, you know, that I'm getting an opportunity that, you know, maybe someone else wouldn't be getting if he or she wasn't of the same race. And sometimes I think that the affirmative action kind of sets minorities back, because one of the things that could happen would be you're letting people who aren't as qualified get a job, and even if you aren't, just it looks crooked. You know what I mean? If everyone is always talking about it, you know, whenever a black guy gets hired, you know, they're like, oh, well, he's a quota man. You know, don't ask him to do any work. He's gonna.
All right, that's a point we really do need to come back to and talk about. But first, Mike's got another question in the studio audience.
Okay, I'm standing here with
Barb.
Barb, how you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Okay, what question do you have for us?
First, I just wanted to say I read recently that the Census Bureau is struggling with deciding what to put under ethnic background, white, African American, because so many people are so diversified. I mean, what am I? I don't know what I am. I'm half German, half something else, but not all white people are of the same race. So I think you can recognize cultural differences without recognizing racial differences. I don't have any ties to my German heritage or my Irish or whatever it is. And I don't think that's wrong, but I struggle with that because I feel like the African Americans are can identify so much with their heritage, yet what do? I'm American, but my family didn't settle here. You know, we came here later. I think you can recognize cultural differences without being racist.
You know, that's a real good point, and perhaps we here tonight have been dwelling too much on black and white, that there are other races out there. and it brings up the question are we European Americans, white people? You know, where does it go? And when it comes down to it, aren't we all just American?
I think so, Ken? I don't really believe in no offense to anyone if anyone's taking it. I mean, I don't really believe in the African American or the Irish American or anything. I mean, we all live here. So, I mean, we're American.
It's breaking down the races.
Yeah.
Well, I have to comment about that. The only reason why we have to change, as a black person, some people, I'm not black, if you see that on the skin. My heritage has come from African American, okay? That's the only reason why I'm classified. You can classify yourself, well, I'm an Irish American, okay? Because that's where your heritage came from. That's the only reason why that I am called an African American. I'm not black, because you see, I'm a brown, caramel, beautiful, and I love myself. You have to classify yourself as whatever your heritage came from, your culture. So that's the only reason why. We're called African American.
But why can't you just classify yourself by where you're at now? I mean, you're
because I'm American. I am, but I have to. I can't.
So, I mean, if you're willing to classify yourself in other groups, then basically it boils down to that you could be racist.
I'm not racist because.
All right, but that brings up a question of homogenization. That you don't want to. Do we classify ourselves and keep people separate? Or do we try and mix us all into one? And then what bits of our culture that we want to hold on to do we lose?
What?
Hispanic culture.
Yeah, well, my family's just about all from Panama. And actually, I think they all are. I mean, as far as I know, all my relatives are. And I think it's a really nice thing, like, for everyone to get along with everyone. But parts of your culture are, like, really, really nice and special things that shouldn't be forgotten, that you should be able to carry on and you should be able to share with other people. Because there's lots of things like that I've had friends go to with me that are from the Spanish community, and special foods and stuff like we were talking about before that I love and I am never going to let go of. And I mean, things like that you should be able to share with other people, and they shouldn't be looked upon in a negative way just because you want to share them.
Okay. Well, we're not hearing the phones tonight as much as we'd like to. The number to call is 489-5958. If you're watching, you want to make a question or comment, give us a call. Mike's got one right now in the studio audience. Mike?
That's right. Please give us a call. But first, we're standing here with...
Don Atherton.
And Donna, what's your question?
It's more of a comment. I'm Canadian myself, but there's only like one race, and that's the human race. There's no black, there's no white. It's just human.
That's right. I agree. It's a human race.
Why?
Okay. Human race. Is that possible?
Well, I don't know about in the near future, but, I for one, kind of resent being called an African American, in that it's as if you're saying, well, you're not really an American. And you can say it's fair to have Irish people say they're Irish Americans all you want. The fact of the matter is that they're not going to do it as much, and so it's going to be like, well, there's 16, he's white, and he's an African American. Whenever I'm taking a standardized test and they've got, check your race, I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Exterminate me because you got too many? It feels like there's population control. And no, I'm not ashamed, you know, of where I've come from. I mean, my family is, my mother's side of the family came out of a very poor part of Tennessee, you know. I mean, I'm proud to say, you know, that I've got heritage that came from another land, but I don't know if that really influences me, who I am, as much as what I'm doing with my life right now, you know, where I'm looking at colleges, you know, who I'm hanging around with, what I'm doing on the weekend. I mean, I think while it might make you feel more secure to say, well, you know, I'm part of a great race and everything, but as long as you're doing that, you're breeding separatism.
Okay. We're going to take a little break right now. But coming up, we're going to see another video that will show us that things aren't always the way they seem. So stay with us.
Talking about decisions. Don't look at me, don't ask me why. You claim to be cool, yet you're drinking dry. When you drive while drunk, the road ahead is dim. So your self-control is your only friend.
If you have dreams of driving a car, you better stay in school or you won't get far.
So why you still want to drink and drive when your brothers and sisters may be the next to die? Talking about decisions. Decisions. Talking about decisions. Decisions.
Okay, welcome back. The show is Cincinnati 45202 Talking Back. The number is 489-5958. All right, this next video has a message about mistaken perceptions and stereotypes. Let's take a look.
Pardon me, sir. Excuse me. Excuse me. Can I ask you a question? I would think so. What color am I? I don't know. I'm blind. Really? Well, so am I. Cool. Well, I think I'm black. I've got soul. Well, I think I'm white. I have no rhythm. Well, does it matter? Nah.
Okay. Obviously, we're talking about stereotypes. What's going on here? What are the underlying problems with these stereotypes? Okay, well, let me put it this way. We have stereotypes in everything, not just races, not just black, white, other races. Oriental, we want to say that all Orientals are all bookworms and they just read all the time. We can do it in religions, that, you know, Jews are just out to steal your money and Muslims are terrorists. We can do it in lifestyles. Gays and lesbians are all sexual perverts and straight people aren't. We can do it in genders, that men are strong, women are weak. Where do these things come from?
Society, the lack of education, it comes straight from there. We're taught that. We're not born, you know, like, oh, I'm supposed to hate the, you know, because we don't know, but, you know, it comes from the house. Like I said before, it comes from the house and lack of education.
I think a lot of stereotypes are based in truths that, you know, once existed. You know, like people think, you know, a common stereotype of blacks is that they're stupid. Well, you know, I mean, it kind of like the people think Polish people are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it stems from with Polish people, when they came over, they didn't know the language, so they looked stupid. You know, and when Africans were brought over, the Americans were trying, or the then Americans, the Southern planters, were trying to justify their treating of them like animals, so they portrayed them as animals. You know, and so, well, gee, I guess it really isn't good to say that it's based in fact, but it is based in perceptions that people make of themselves, you know?
Perceptions and perhaps attitude?
Yeah,
attitude.
or situation.
All right. Mike's got another question in the studio audience. Mike.
Another question from, my name is Tabak Davis. I really don't have a question, I have a statement that was concerned about the stereotype. And you know, society put emphasis on so many things. This is my stepson, Chris, right here. He don't care about anything but having fun. That's what I said earlier today. But when we sit down and watch a basketball game or a football game, it's like, oh, I want the whites to win, per se, from the darks to win. And I asked him, I said, Chris, why do you want the whites to win instead of the dark colors to win? Oh, because white is better. And see, that's something that is learned in society. That's what they portray, because if you think about it, when you look at the cowboy western movies, we have the black cowboy with the black hat, he's the bad guy. Cowboy with the white hat, oh, he's the good guy. And this is the kind of things that Sesame Street, all these other shows, portray to little kids.
Right. Same thing like angel food cake and devil's food cake, right?
Okay, well, how can we change these attitudes? Amy?
I still think it's brought up in the home, just like they were saying. I mean, your parents, of course, are teaching you as little kids the most. I mean, they're going to tell you, you know, basically what your morals are and your values are and stuff like that. I mean, if your parents teach you that there's nothing different, blacks and whites are equal, I mean, that's the way they're going to think. And I think most, you know, kids or whatever, they're going to understand racism more if they experience it personally. I mean, if they just hear stories about it, they're basically not going to understand it. But, you know, like me, personally, at my school, it's basically all white, and so I don't really experience very often. But, I mean, I've got black friends, and so I know how it is. But when you hear people make the comments, I bet you they haven't experienced it because of the way they're talking. I mean, you can tell. The people that are more serious about it and understand it more have experienced it, and you can just tell.
Well, if we influence attitudes and try and change attitudes, how will the behavior change?
You can't control what people think.
That's right.
I mean, you know, schools are, at my school, they're always coming at us with, you know, everybody's equal and these people are great and on and on and on. And I don't think it helps, because I think people get desensitized to it. You know, they're just like, oh, geez, here we go again. It's kind of the same way they do drugs. It's like they're constantly bombarding you with all this stuff. And you're like, geez, here we go again. I mean,
yes, I love everybody,
yeah.
and everybody is equal, and
Yeah.
none of us will do drugs, and it'll be great. But, yeah, and going back to what the gentleman from the audience was saying, that, you know, what we learn from TV, and we had talked about what we learned from TV earlier. Anything that again, that we're learning in a good way from TV? Is there anything positive from there? Not much? Think about it. You think about it for a little bit, and we're going to come back after this break. The number, 489-5958. Give us a call.
By popular demand. Kick it, we got a new topic, so you better get with it. Buckle up, buckle up. Hold on, let me interrupt. Yo, drive without a seatbelt, you're just looking for bad luck. And buckle up to avoid the static. Stops by the cops will be automatic. So buckle up when you're cruising around town, bumping your speakers with your windows rolled down. Buckle up, it won't take but a minute. You're safer when you're strapped up in it. I know you're cool when you're rolling in your Benzo, but you won't be that cool when your head's through the window. And I know you don't think you're going to crash, but the next man might not think that fast. So shake your butt when you're booming my cut, and everybody in the house, buckle up. Buckle up.
Sense of humor is very important. I think it keeps you healthy to be able to laugh about certain things, and you have to be able to find the joy in the world and other people.
Okay, we're back. We want to go to Mike now with our resource experts to ask them to comment on some of the things that they have been hearing tonight during the show.
Would you guys like to clarify or elaborate on anything of what the kids said so far tonight?
Well, I just want to talk about cultural diversity and how important it is to value culture. And I think it's one of the problems, when we see someone that's different from us, we tend to devalue that person or that race. And, you know, when we talk about cultural diversity, we're really talking about developing appreciation for someone else's culture. And I think it's important for all of us, and particularly children, to develop an appreciation for our cultural differences. Let me mention one thing. I think racism is a reality in our society. And I think the only way we can deal with it is first deal with it as being a problem in our society and correct it. And part of it is through information, getting the right facts, that we don't stereotype, because stereotyping is what we call a shorthand method of retaining information. And what that means, you retain the smallest amount of information about a person, place, or thing. And that's really ignorant if we're going to be better toward each other as human beings.
There's definitely richness in diversity. I agree with that.
Absolutely. And I think that I believe that European folks need to take more responsibility for the problem of racism and more responsibility for challenging racism, which means some self-directed personal growth, because it's really not delivered in many of the other forums that we generally tend to get information. So it falls back on each person to take the responsibility to get the information, to learn about racism, and then to challenge racism. One of the things we started with were the slang terms, and it's important to recognize how you feel when you hear words like that. But silence is devastating to challenging racism. So I think we also need to learn ways to challenge our friends and our family when we identify stereotypical thinking or racist thoughts and behaviors.
Okay. Let's talk about respect. Where does respect for others come into play there? Respect for others who are different. And, you know, that Carrie was talking about. We want to challenging others. And I think, isn't there a certain amount of respect that we have to have for other people, other cultures, if we're going to be able to understand them?
You think understanding might be a better word than respect? Because respect, when I think of respect, it's like I respect my father, you know, because, you know, he has fed me, he's put clothes on my back, you know, he's provided for me. He, you know, when I was younger, he was more powerful than I am. You know, he was above me. Mm-hmm. And so I think when people talk about respect, I think that's a poor choice of words. Because it sounds like if you're respecting someone else's culture, it's like you're saying you look at it like it's better than yours, or you just accept that it might be better, you know. And I think that understanding would be important, individual understanding. I don't know if I agree with you know, everybody sitting back and thinking, you know, about how all these different cultures are great. I think it would have more to do with interaction.
Mm-hmm. Interaction, that's good. What about we talk about, you know, we can fight side by side, but we can't live with each other. Yeah. And even in your high schools, I'm sure you play on the same teams. You are in sports. You're probably in plays and courses. But how much do you really hang out with friends of different races?
I just want to say you have to respect to understand the cultural diversity of everything. Okay. I mean, you know, because once you get an understanding, you're going to respect it, okay? Because we all come from one person. That's all I'd say.
Come from one person. All right, Mike's got a question in the studio audience. Mike.
Thanks, Gary. Got a question from?
Galen.
Okay, Galen, what's your question?
My main question was, but first I had a statement about the whole respect thing. I think you do have to respect someone else's culture and also respect your own. You know, to get more on theirs, and that's what the main problem is. A lot of people don't have respect for each other in America. But my main question was that how many people, and you know, I don't need an answer, but how many people in here have dated interracially, or you know, my question is, would you date interracially, and if not, why? I just want people to think about that to themselves. I think that's a big problem with racism. Is like real down inside, and like some people were saying, they get it from their home, Mom and Dad got a big emphasis on racism and things like that because kids, we're not born racist. We get it from home and a lot of things. So, to ask yourself, are you racist? Would you date interracially? And if not, what are your reasons why? And then, think about your reasons why that is, and are those racist reasons not to be dating somebody?
Okay, people at home, think about that, as well as our studio audience.
Yeah. All right, I want to throw something else out here to you. This is going back to attitudes. On some things that people have said. We have rather famous quotes. Jesse Jackson calling New York City Hymietown. Marge Schott, I think, enough said. Louis Farrakhan describing Hitler as wickedly great. Now, these are attitudes of things said by quote-unquote adults. Do you think that these represent majority of opinion among adults?
Yep.
That all adults have some sort of racist problem within them?
No. I don't think they do it on purpose, because a lot of them have been brought up to believe that, and that you can't just blow things away because they're better all of a sudden. Like, sometimes people may do things that they don't even realize they're doing. Like, let's say they're walking in the mall somewhere and they see someone of a minority group or something that they'll automatically, like if it's a lady, she'll grab her purse maybe that she was just walking with on her shoulder, but she might then hold on to it tighter or something. Because I've seen some of these things happen, like not to me personally, but if I've been with a group of people or something that were obviously not white or Caucasian or however it should be said, but it's something that's noticed, and I'm sure they don't even realize they do it, but I don't think they can help it. It's not something they do on purpose.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about somebody grabbing their purse, because this past fall I had to do a news story in Lincoln Heights. And here's this young white guy walking around Lincoln Heights with a video camera, and people were looking at me like I was clinically insane, but I'm sure if I was a black guy in a predominantly white community walking around town asking people questions with a video camera, people that they don't know, somebody probably would have called the cops. These attitudes. All right, let's go again to our resource experts with Mike. See if they can wrap up with some final comments.
Thanks, Gary. Would you guys like to wrap up for us and just give us some thoughts to leave with?
Yeah, I think if we as a society are going to move forward and we're going to take full advantage of our human resources in the society, we're going to have to learn how to live together, work together, and progress together as a nation. And part of that progression is going to be based on how we appreciate each other along racial and cultural lines. And our future is tied up in this. And if we don't realize this, we're going to lose out globally.
Thanks, Arzell.
That's absolutely true. And I also want to say that part of my perspective and part of what I hope I have communicated today is that if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. So folks need to learn about and challenge racism.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, let's get some final comments from our panel with this last question. Do you think the problem of racism is like the poor will always be with us? Real quick. Ken.
Well, I think that one thing that racism is really starting over is like the past with certain races being oppressed and all that. But I think that the only way to really solve it is to let go of the past and live for the future.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. That's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank the panel, and thank you, the studio audience, for joining us, and thank you to our resource experts. Now here's Mike Winfrey with some final thoughts.
We have just listened to a discussion concerning racism. We have learned that racism is a learned behavior that results from the abuse from one person to another. We can stop this problem by simply letting our tolerance and our hearts override what we've learned. We as humans should be accepting of one another and find richness in diversity. I think we can learn a lot from each other. I mean, come on. Who died and gave you the power to decide that your race or you is better than someone else? My friend, you're wrong. You're human. you're one of us. We've tried the approach of America's coming together and simply joining hands and saying everything is okay. Now let's take that a step towards some real effort, involving tears, sweat, and pains of effort. The statement was made by one of the kids in the vignettes that we're not different as humans, only in skin tone. So I think you guys need to think about that, okay? Join us May 18th when teens in Cincinnati are talking back about underage drinking and the Ohio laws. I'm Mike Winfrey, and this is Cincinnati 45202, talking back.
National priorities, all those who now speak of goodwill and who